is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is The Inbound. This is The Inbound. This is The Inbound. The Inbound. This is The Inbound Secret.
What's going on, guys? It's your host, Bryce, with The Inbound Secret again. Today, we've got a little off the wall, but some awesome people on here. We got Bray and Richard. I'm not going to butcher your last name, Richard. I'm just going to let you do your first intro so you can say it properly, because I'll fuck it up.
It's all good, my dude. All right. So my name is Richard Kahanek. I'm CEO of Elite Business Masters, where we come in and provide value to people by showing them the value that they have.
Right on.
There we go.
What's Jeff do over here? He's just looking like he's the star guest of Prawn 3.0.
Pretty much. That's really my goal is. So I shave my head because it makes me A, more aerodynamic, but B, when we get into these conversations, it's really to streamline your business. No, reality, I'm the COO. Richard and I, we actually do a plethora of things together, but essentially at the end of the day, we figure out how to figure out your value driver and then push business in a way that actually creates growth and not just features.
Perfect. I'm just over here competing for best hair on the internet. You can see the waves going on. It's working.
Oh. Dude, I should have worn like a Joe Dirt wig or something. That would be hilarious.
Joe Dirte, don't French it.
There you go. All right, guys.
I told Richard already before we started recording for today's episode, I did get the whiskey.
Yeah.
But I didn't want to not have the mudslide. So I'm doing both. That's what's happening.
Yeah. There you go. He's ready to rock and roll. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cha-ching.
What are you guys drinking over there? I've got Tin Cup American here.
I sip on Makers.
Makers is good.
I got some. I got a double thing going. So I got some gin and tonic. Start off classy, and then at the end, if we run out, I got a classic Lone Star, the water of the South.
I like it. It's funny. This has nothing to do with what all our listeners are here for, but before I got the Rona, because me and the girlfriend had the Rona for the last 2 weeks.
I was wondering why you looked better. It's interesting.
Yeah, it really trims you down. You look.
Yeah.
So before that, we went out and she had never tried a ton of sushi, and I love sushi. So I took her out to this nice little sushi restaurant in town, and they've got like Kirin Ichiban, and they've got a bunch of like import beers. And I ordered a Kirin because it's basically Asia's Coors. And she's like, "What's it taste like?" And I'm like, "It's Japanese Coors Light." That's and she's like, "No way." So she tries it and she's like, "Now I get it. It's Japanese Coors Light."
Hell yeah.
There we go, guys. Yeah. So Bryce, here on the Inbound Secret, what is your favorite topics? What are your favorite topics to really talk about, man?
So the Inbound Secret's really about just diving deep into what makes successful people successful, whether that be sex, drugs, rock and roll, like we were talking about, or that be like I had a Dilla Marcy on here the other day, and the episode started with he had his cats in his chair in the background. So my intro for him was we got a Dilla Marcy here, special guest copywriting king, and he's just showing up with pussies in chair. And like our listeners just lost their mind for a second because they're like, what? It took 45 minutes for either of us to like explain that joke because we just assumed that people would watch it, but we forgot about just the audio listeners. So for 45 minutes, we had people listening to us that had no context for what that joke was.
Oh, Jesus.
But I do want to kind of get into a few pieces of gold for the listeners. Richard, sure. You've been in the agency space. You help entrepreneurs daily. Jeff's aerodynamic as hell. tell our listeners a little bit about your trade secrets other than shaving the head that'll help them kind of level up their mindset, really put power back into their hand, empower them to be able to empower others. What are some of the things that people can start doing today that'll get their mind right so that they can help their clients do the same?
Sure. So when it comes down to it, man, mindset is everything, right? You got to be able to get up, roll with the punches, understand that you're not going to close every deal you come across. Understand that you're going to have dry days where you don't even have a fucking lead, right? And it happens. No matter how good your marketing is, especially as a small business owner. And then if you going like deeper down the pipeline where you're already well established, you got leads rolling in all the time, you're not going to close every freaking deal, So the bottom line here is to always improve what your operations are, always improve your techniques. And most importantly though, get off your fucking ass and fucking make some magic happen. All right. Too many people they stay in bed till noon. Then they get up and work a 4 o'clock to 10 o'clock job. And then what they don't do is they're like, well, why can't I succeed? Fuck, I need to vote for Biden or something, and so,
I fucking love you.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, it's like, what the fuck, no, don't fucking take that mentality. The bottom line is if you have to work a job, work the job, but build something yourself. Right. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to see your political views change a bit because you're going to be like, fuck all these motherfuckers that try and take my fucking hard-earned money.
Who was it? Was it, I think it was the Prime Minister of London from like during the second Elizabethan period, which I think we're still in technically. What's his fucking name?
It's been 84 years.
What's it? You know who I'm talking about,
You're
right?
Not talking about Churchill, are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, Winston Churchill. Yeah.
Churchill, I think, is the one that had the quote that said, what was it? If you're 18 and you're not a socialist, you're an idiot. If you're 50, and you're still a socialist, you're an idiot. And the premise is when you're 18 and you don't really know how the fuck the world works and you don't really have anything to your name that you've cultivated and ground yourself and dug up yourself and worked towards, of course you want everything to be fucking sunshine and strippers, right? But like the second that starts to hit reality, more often than not, the reason why that old cliche is why are Republicans a bunch of old rich dudes? Well, it's because they got old and they wanted to keep their money. So
yeah, you see that paycheck and 30 or 40% is gone. You're like, wait a minute. I'm like, hold on. Yeah.
So, but I think that was a Churchill quote, wasn't it?
I'm not quite sure about that one, so I don't want to lie to you. There, but what we do see in today's society here is that we have all these young kids in college. They're all socialists. They're all Democratic. Whatever the case is, and they're in med school. They're med school students. They're eating ramen. They're not earning any money. They're just dropping a bunch of money on tuition. Their parents are making plenty of money, but they don't know anything about the real world, right? Oh. But then what we see is that they become doctors and they see that big chunk come out of their paycheck. And then they're just like, fuck Democrats, so, and I know it's not a political show here. So, we don't need to probably get into the nitty gritty there, but,
we should figure out, we should figure out what makes a successful person. Like what kind of successful person are we talking about? Financial, spiritual? Like what kind of success do you want? Well, there's a lot of different types.
I think that's a good segue too, because far too often, like a lot of my students, a lot of our clients, a lot of the people that listen to this show have a really hard time grasping what that is, right? Like to you, success may be $1 million in the bank. To Richard, success may be complete and utter freedom of time. To John, success may be the ability to give back to charities and do whatever they want to do to be able to change somebody else's life. To somebody else, they could be making $12 an hour and just have the best marriage, the best friendships, the best home life, and that's success.
Totally content. Yeah.
For sure. Absolutely.
So I think that's important, and that's kind of a good segue into my next question. We know mindset's key. You guys, hell, myself, we're all a little evident of that, right? All of us have gone through the ringer. Most of us has gone through a shit show of a year in 2020, but we're still here, we're still fighting, and we're still making it happen. Yeah. So that segue, what makes somebody want to do that? What makes somebody want to wake up in 2020 where fucking every month there's some crazier shit than the last and keep going at it full steam for somebody else's benefit, even when they're losing money, losing time, losing sleep? Maybe they haven't brought in a lead, they haven't made a sale in a couple weeks. Tell me from your guys' perspective what you would say that commonality is, and what's one way for somebody who maybe lost sight of that. Maybe they were rocking and rolling and 2020 hit them like a blindside kick to get that back.
I think, dude, it boils down to one common trait that we all have, and it's not being afraid to fail. And that's a key thing. Like, think about this. Like, you go to school and you are taught not to fail. What do you want? You want to get A's? Everyone wants to get A's, but you don't learn from A's. If you're doing it right, okay, well then okay, great. You did it right once. Can you replicate it? Right. And if you fail, then you're an idiot. And it's being able to be disciplined enough to continue when you fail. So resiliency, for sure. I think that's like, I come from a very heavy sales background, started off in, cold calling, like, basically from a broom closet, and worked my way up to, where I am today.
You're the guy that came to my door to sell me a Kirby, aren't you?
Yeah. You bought 3 of them. Convinced you for your family, your niece, and then your unborn child. There you go. So for me, it's resiliency and
Oh, I mean, a lot of it is aside from resilience, right? A lot of it has to do with being able to adapt.
Yeah.
Right. Because based on those failures in that resiliency, the ability to adapt is really one of the biggest key factors here. Because if you keep trying to do the same thing over and over, even though you're failing, that's insanity. Right. So you always have to make sure that you're able to adapt no matter what the situation throws at you. The economy changes. Guess what? I gotta change up my tax strategy. You lose sales. Guess what? I have to look at another avenue for getting those sales. Maybe it's time to stop to slow down on the pay-per-click and move to SEO. Maybe it's time to instead of just relying on pay-per-click and SEO, maybe move over to some social ads, right? You have to make sure that you're always able to adapt and overcome.
I like it. One thing that I would like to add to that, and I think it plays off of both of what you guys said and obviously all of our experiences, is I think you've got to be willing to basically just what you said, Jeff, look failure in the face, right? But I think you need to be able to do that, expect to fail, and then push through that. And here's what I mean by that. We've spent tens of thousands of dollars on advertising this year, right? And most people would look at that as I've just spent tens of thousands of dollars and I haven't closed anything.
It's like you're burning money. That's what they think.
Yeah, but I'm not looking at this week, this month. I'm not even looking at next quarter. I'm looking at the several tens of thousands of dollars we've invested during 2020, knowing that that's setting the precedent for next year and the year following that and the year following that, because it's set a tonality and an introduction to audience members that I've never even engaged with at this point. But without setting that first brick, we don't have any foundation to go off of moving into next year, let alone next quarter. So I think it's important to be able to take a short-term failure and turn it into a long-term win.
Sure. Absolutely.
Bryce, what do you think about emotional intelligence?
In regards to entrepreneurship, individualism, politics, what?
Yeah, just in general. Because one thing that Richard's really good at, he can read the room. He understands kind of how to talk to them, who they are as a person. And it's basically without even talking to them right up front. And I think that's one thing that separates a lot of successful versus people that are not successful, It's just being able to read and understand who you're talking to. And I'm curious, like in your success.
I think that has more to do, not necessarily, I wouldn't say it's like reading a room, right? Like that's a common term. We hear it all the time. But I don't think, Richard, you've ever got into a room and you just start spying on people like Joe Biden looking for a child. Like,
wait, do you not? Whoops.
That's not how you're going into a room. I think it's just being confident in yourself, your product, your service, and your knowledge, and being able to establish just a human to human connection. Like for you guys, for myself, for a lot of our clients, for a lot of the wonderful people we have in my life, my coaches, my mentors, we all seem to share one trait. We're comfortable with who we are.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that shows. So I've never had a moment where I couldn't walk into a room and start a conversation with somebody, whether or not they're worth 100 times more than me or more or not. Because it's not about what they can do for me. It's about that connection that I want to have. And that plays in really well to like one of the things I teach. I teach NLP and how to utilize that to anchor emotion, to copy both visual and auditory, and in like sales copy for the written form, right?
Sure.
And I think that plays into the same thing. There is a degree of emotional intelligence there, but I don't think it's emotional intelligence for other people. I think it's you knowing you and being comfortable with you.
Yeah,
Well,
that's fair.
and that's true, right? A lot of it comes down to, that just being able to adapt, right? Because if somebody comes across as combative, which Jeff and we've experienced recently,
What?
we
No way.
we have people coming in, and these are not prospects; these are fucking clients, right? They get combative, and we're able to talk them off a ledge, right?
Yeah.
And Jeff is able to talk me off of ledges. I talk him off of ledges. This is what happens when you're a partner, right? So how does that emotional intelligence kind of come into play there? Because yes, it part of it has to do with you, but of course it has to come down to what the other person's reactions are.
Yeah, but I think that's where the DISC assessment, right? Like that's a magical fucking tool if you use it properly. I think it was on one of our calls where I hadn't even thought about using the DISC assessment for clients. We use it for hiring. I never really thought about it as far as clients. And then we started, we haven't fully implemented it, right? But we've started slowly doing things where we notice markers and rank them on a DISC internally. And it's made a night and day difference.
Mm-hmm.
Immediately we're just this is how this person's probably going to respond to this. This is how we should approach them. So I don't disagree with you, but I don't think one could go without the other.
Oh, absolutely. Right. I would agree 100% with that. Let me ask you this. How do you feel about a sales training that not only it helps you close deals based on what you're doing, but it also helps you identify your own strengths as your personality using Myers-Briggs, right? Similar to a DISC, right? So if you are able to assess your own abilities and also assess your prospect, how powerful do you think that would be?
Oh, super powerful. That's the basis to what I built Thrive selling off of, is being able to understand both you and your prospect or your client and be able to adapt to that.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm having built right now. We have,
nice.
We had conversations with several psychologists, people that can understand human behavior. We're able to identify buying triggers, and as well, sales is buying questions that people will say, so that's really great. So let me ask you this, right? Do you have a sales training program?
A Frankenstein one.
Frankenstein. Gotcha. Okay.
Would I say it's ideal? No. Does it need some love? Yeah, probably.
Okay. You know what's interesting is that I was reading somewhere where the most successful people, and we're not talking successful in terms of spiritually or family or whatever. We're talking like financial, like the top people that were successful. Most, I think it was like 60 to 70% started off straight sales. Bryce, I'm super curious. Like, do you fall into sales, or where would you rank yourself?
I haven't worked a salaried or hourly job in over a decade. And I'm 28. So
Nice.
So high school, you're like, I'm not doing that. I'm done.
Yeah.
I'm out. So what triggered it? Like that's pretty scary. Like you're 28, 10 years ago, you're 18. I bet you see all your friends going off, some are doing military, some are doing college, some are doing, whatever. Like, where did that play into you? Like, that must've been insane.
This is going to sound funny, and I think a lot of people align with this. It had more to do with me just hating being told what to do than me wanting security, right? Like, I fucking suck when I have a boss. Not because I'm bad at my job, but because you hired me to do a fucking job. Let me fucking do the job. Yeah. Okay. I don't want to wake up 2 hours early to go to a raw meeting that could have been a fucking email. I don't want to have to deal with you looking over my shoulder. You hired me to do a job that you don't even know how to train on in most cases. Get the fuck out of my face and let me do my job. Right.
Bryce, I sense a sense of seriousness behind this answer. There's a lot of things there.
There's a lot of stuff there. And and for a while I was like, okay, maybe it's the person or maybe it's the position, right? So I've sold cell phones. I'm a certified gemologist. I've sold fucking training. I went to EMS school. I've done whitewater survival. I've sold B2B telecommunications. I've sold cars. I've sold insurance, financial services, retirement accounts, annuities, mutual funds. I've sold storage sets. I've sold physical products. I've sold digital products. And there was always one commonality. I love sales. I love helping people. But every single time I had a boss, I could do their job better than them, and they couldn't do mine. And yet they were telling me what to do. And it drove me fucking crazy. So
oh yeah.
So what do you think? What do you think sales is? I'm so curious because I get mixed answers all the time. Like I personally think that sales, like getting into sales, is a really simple concept. It's just you find a problem and you provide a solution. Yeah, you solve it. And like people watch The Wolf of Wall Street and they're like, oh my God, like I want to cold call everyone, and grandma, you got to invest in this penny stock. And you know what I mean? Like, here's
the easiest way to describe sales. And I have this conversation a lot. Thank you for asking. Sales is you offering a solution to a problem that your consumer either does or does not know exists, but is causing them pain, and you offering to fix it. You're not convincing them to do something. You're not forcing something down their throat. You are presenting a solution. It is ultimately up to them if they want it or not. And proper sales is not to dissuade them from what's in their best interest. Yeah. Proper sales is to help them see the light as to why that's in their best interest.
Yeah.
It's their decision. But here's where most people get caught up. They see the Wolf of Wall Street and they think they've got to do all these fucking tactics and crazy shit, but they forget that since the day they could figure out how to fucking talk.
Yeah.
Well, they forget since the day they've known how to talk, they've been selling. They sell themselves when they make a decision. They sell their spouse when they met. They sell their employer to hire them. They literally every decision has a cognitive set. Your image.
Yeah.
All of that is sales. The only difference is what you're getting in exchange isn't money.
Mm-hmm. And I think that's the difference between sales and entrepreneurship. Because entrepreneurship, you get into entrepreneurship to be your own boss and to make money. Mm-hmm. That's the difference.
And just touching on entrepreneurship, and sales in tandem, it comes down to, you don't have to be a great salesperson to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
True.
Right.
I also think that it has to do a lot with attitude. Because think about it. Entrepreneurs are the people that'll work 120 hours a week for themselves so they don't have to work 40 for somebody else.
Dude, yeah.
For sure. And that's good, right? And the thing is, right? So for anybody, any of the listeners out there that really they are very interested in being an entrepreneur, but they just don't have the funds, they don't have, the skill sets, right? The bottom line here is it's either going to take great skills to start, which means that you have to be the accountant, you have to be the salesperson, you have to be developing whatever it is, operations, blah, 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 right? That means that it's a lot of work. Now, at the bottom, if you don't have the skills and you still want to be an entrepreneur, then what do you need?
Relationships.
Or is there another thing that you may need? You don't have the skills, but you need other thing.
You may be going towards a monetary statement here, but I've got to interlude. I started this company $57,000 in debt with $13 in my pocket, $13 or $15 in my pocket. You don't need money. Skills do help, but you can learn a craft.
Sure. Super true.
Relationships really make or break how fast that goes. I'm intrigued. What is this element?
So here's the thing, right? You had something though. You started this company, but you've been working for yourself for a very long time.
Oh yeah, this was my second company, and now I've got 6.
Sure, right. And here's the thing: is your second company thing. Now you have 6, right? That's great, but it took a lot of time. You never worked for anybody else, so you already had something.
Time.
You had the time, and you learned the skill sets. You learned different skills along the way, and maybe they were weird, maybe it was awkward, right? But you were able to refine them with time.
Yeah, I mean, I've fallen on my face more times than I can fucking count.
And most entrepreneurs do. And dude, I tried literally like to start different businesses when I first got started several years ago. I tried literally like 7-8 times to start things, and bottom line, I didn't need it bad enough, right? I had a fucking job that I worked at, and I didn't need the business bad enough.
I think that leads into something interesting. Tell me what you guys think on this, because to me, it makes a lot of sense. When you want it as bad as you want to breathe or eat, that will set you apart from it.
100.
Because I had COVID for 2 fucking weeks and I still worked every day, right? Because I genuinely love what I do, and goddamn do I want it. Tell me about your guys' opinion on that. What do you think? Do you think that holds water?
I think you have to be put in a situation to answer that question. And most folks are not willing to put themselves in a situation where they are forced, because you're talking about that motivational speaker, right? That walks into the water and it's like he pushes him under. Yeah. And then the guy's like, yeah. So for the listeners that are out there, essentially there's this guy, I don't exactly remember the entire story, but essentially he wants to be someone that he isn't yet. And so he hires this like mentor or something. And the mentor walks him out into the ocean and ducks his head underwater and doesn't let him up to breathe. And he freaks out. And eventually the mentor lets him up. And he's like, that feeling that you had, that you need air more than anything else, you have to feel that in order to really, truly be in entrepreneurship. What I've noticed is a lot of folks are not willing to put themselves in that position. And what I mean by that is they get hung up on superficial things like, man, like if this isn't successful and I don't make enough money, then this is going to happen and this is going to happen. And they let fear start to drive a lot of the stuff. But if you truly like want to get out of that mundane 9 to 5, having your boss breathe over your shoulder, you have 3 different jobs and, you come home and you're exhausted, you can't play COD, it's tough. And I think it boils down to put yourself in a position where if you fail hard. You don't fail a little bit. Make sure that if you're going to fail a lot and you'll learn from it. And that is a very, very tough teacher. There's
a quote that I still find hilarious. It's from, we've got about 10 minutes, guys, before I've got to hop off. We've got a reminder popping up. It's also a really good countdown calendar, by the way, to make sure that I make my next appointment. So that being said, there's a quote that's actually from, what the fuck's it from? You guys might have heard it. It says, don't half-ass anything, full-ass one thing. Parks and Rec. That's where it's from.
It's so true.
Yeah.
But
Ron
it's
Swanson.
so, yeah, Ron Swanson. It's so true. Because you think about it, like if I'm going to fail, I'm going to fail fucking hard.
Yeah.
Like I'm not gonna have like a little bike accident where I scrape my knee. Like I'm running into an SUV full speed downhill. Right.
You'd be
Yeah, for
eating that
sure.
guy. Fuck it.
I mean,
Yeah.
fuck it. Right. Like, cause what's going to happen? I'm either going to learn or I'm going to win. Right.
Mhm.
Yeah.
In either case, I'm getting through it.
Mhm.
Well, you can't half it. You can't. So I see a lot of people, especially folks that are like, man, I hate my job, but I can't leave my job. And they'll do this. They're like, well, I'll dabble in it. Or
Mhm.
I'll read a sales book here or there. Or, hey, I'll read an entrepreneurship. It's like 10 o'clock at night. Maybe have some whiskey. You're reading Reddit or whatever. And you're like, yeah, maybe I'll try it. But it doesn't go anywhere. It's not successful. And you're like, but I tried. And then you got to ask yourself, like, did you actually try? Did you actually put yourself out there?
Yeah.
And deep down, we all know the answer.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
Oh, because we've
Yeah,
all
for
been
sure.
there. There's
Absolutely.
We've all done that at a moment where we're like, we'll see. Like full disclosure to everybody listening and to you guys. Like earlier this year, right when COVID hit, I'm like, fuck it, I'll get into wholesaling. I spent like 2 weeks just fucking around in my spare time on it. Guess what I haven't done this entire fucking year? I haven't wholesaled one fucking house. Not one.
Yeah, that and wholesaling is a rough thing to get into because it consumes a lot of your time.
Yeah.
Right? So this
But
is why
It was just one of those things that caught my attention, distracted me for a second, took some attention away from what I should have been full-assing the whole time.
Yeah.
And then that suffered, and then I didn't do the fucking thing that distracted me anyways.
Yeah,
So you don't
and
get anywhere.
Well, was that something like the old Dean Graziosi type deal, or something else, something similar?
Similar. I got it. I've known about it forever, right? I have wholesaling clients. I've got wholesaling friends. We've built courses on wholesaling. I've been around it for fucking years, right? But we had a slowdown because we stopped taking clients middle of the year for like 3 months. And I was like, well, fuck, the business is kind of on autopilot. What should I do? And then rather than doubling down, which is the right answer, and I know that's the fucking right answer, I was like, I'll dabble. And then I didn't do shit with it. I didn't do fucking shit with it.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
You know,
it
Bryce,
happens.
and Richard, I think one thing that's really, and we kind of touched on it briefly, is so you'll get really motivated for something, right?
Mhm.
And then it'll fizzle out. And one thing that I've noticed working with Richard is extremely disciplined, and he'll wake up and he will not want to wake up, but he'll do it anyway.
Mhm.
And that's what separates a lot of people. It's the motivation is fleeting, and the discipline is, even if you don't want to do it, you do it. And I think that's truly what separates a 9-to-5 job holder
Mhm.
and a 120-hour entrepreneur. And I think Jocko Willenick, the Navy SEAL guy, he touched on that, and he made a really good point.
Yeah.
I mean, what do you
look
think,
at all of
guys?
us right now? Look at all of us right this minute, right? It's going to be 8:00 at night here in Texas, but
Yeah.
we've been at it. You know, we're not sitting here working shifts. Like you know, Jeff and I will be here sometimes till 10, 11 at night. You know, and you
Can
know,
you send me that TSP report or TCP report or whatever that was from the Office Space? You know.
Yeah, you know, and this is kind of what separates the wolves from the sheep, right?
Yeah.
It comes down to, like, are you going to be what everybody tells you to do? Are you going to, you know, join the leftist movement and just be what they tell you to be? Or are you going to get there and do something? I keep getting political. I'm really sorry.
You're not fucking sorry. Neither am I.
you know, it comes. There's a lot that really comes into play here for the things that separate the rich from the poor, and it's not a hill that magically grows with two ropes come down and one guy goes up right away and the other guy lets the hill grow underneath him. I don't know if you've seen that Kamala Harris ad. It's freaking ridiculous.
To be fair, look who put it out. Come on.
Come on now,
You know,
Richard.
yeah, it's you know, it's really a journey on entrepreneurship, And most of the time it takes a combination of making sure that you're learning every day. You never stop learning new skills. You never stop learning new techniques. On top of that, does it take money to be successful? No, but it's going to take some skill. And if you don't have skill, it's going to take skill development into that skill and it's going to take some time. It's not going to happen overnight. Right. And if you don't have the skills and you don't want to learn the skills, guess what? Maybe you don't have many relationships, but maybe you have a high paying job and you want to get out of that 9 to 5. Guess what? It's going to take some money, right?
Or time.
So, and so it just, there's just this interesting dynamic back and forth, right? It's not set in stone, the ways to success. They are not set in stone, but the mindsets are.
And that leads to the last thing that I want to wrap up with. We've got about 3 minutes for everybody listening here before we wrap up. And I want you guys to give me your opinion on something that really is inspiring to me and a lot of people listening. But I want you guys to kind of give your biggest motivational touch point or like fucking come to Jesus touch point that's helped you guys keep going. Because 10 years ago, we're in 2020. This year's been a fucking shit show for a lot of people, right? But the last time we were in an economic recession, roughly 10 years ago, 10 of the largest businesses in the fucking world right now were founded in garages.
Yep, that's super true.
Absolutely.
And that's fucking motivating to me because I'm like, fuck yes, right? But a lot of people are just wallowing in what 2020 is going. So what would you say is your biggest motivator to not wallow? And what would you say is something that the audience listening could use as something refer to as a motivator to keep that motivation or that spark or to get it?
Sure.
Rich, I'll go first and you want to wrap it up because you're good at rapping.
Yeah, I can rap like Lil Wayne, dude. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead, Jeff. Go ahead.
All right. So mine's pretty simple, actually. So I come from a heavy corporate world. I thought that like the right way to go about it. Sorry about that. The right way to go about it was to basically focus on making as much money as I can salary wise. And that's not true. What you got to actually do is eliminate the concept of a finish line. And
2 minutes, guys.
Once you understand the concept of a finish line and get rid of it, you'll never be bored in your life because you don't have a goal to finish at. You have just things that you want to hit.
Awesome. Richard?
Yeah. Well, ultimately, a lot of people do focus on those goals, and Jeff and I align very, very well. But too many people focus on goals and not milestones. So once they get to a certain spot, they stop. So they're like, "Oh, my business does $100,000 a year. I'm happy." No, fuck that. We just keep going. We keep reinvesting and growing. And so when it comes down to motivation, it comes down knowing that there are unlimited opportunities out there, unlimited growth potential, and only you can grow or stop yourself from growing.
I love it.
But I'm going to keep.
I got chills, Richard.
We've got 60 seconds left. I want you to leave the people with how they can find you guys and contact you if they want to learn more about elite entrepreneurs. You go.
It's all you, Richard. You got this, brother.
Yeah. So if anybody does want to contact us, reach out to us. We offer, Bryce and us, we offer pretty much the same things in terms of services. The biggest thing that we help is operational growth. That
30
really
seconds.
Everything to the next level. So if you want to find us, reach out to us at elitebusinessmasters.com, where you can contact us, schedule some time with us, or just email us, Richard at elitebusinessmasters.com or gbray@elitebusinessmasters.com.
Awesome. Thank you guys so much for being here, and we will see you guys next on the next episode of The Inbound Secret.
Bye, guys.
Cheers.
This is the Inbound Secret.
My name is Bryce, and I'm your host for The Inbound Secret, where we're talking with top performers and health experts and sales badasses alike about their strategies to optimize their well-being and performance. Once again, this is The Inbound Secret, and let's get rocking and rolling.
This is the Inbound